a posthumous sequel to one of the true greats of modern picture books? Sign me up. Hi everyone, I'm Jacob. I'm the CowHatLibrarian. And this one was a bolt from the blue surprise. I was at the library this weekend with my kids. I was checking out some holds. I took a brief wander into the children's department to see if there was anything interesting to pick up and talk about, and I stumbled onto this. Something I never expected to read. Written by Andrew Clements, who passed away a few years ago. It is a sequel to his wonderful book Frindle, and it is called The Frindle Files. This completely flew under the radar for me, and I'm guessing it's because I've been taking a bit of a hiatus from ordering books for my college library the last little bit due to a systems changeover. And this came out of nowhere, and I couldn't have been more thrilled to pick it up and read it. So, in case you haven't read Frindle, go read Frindle. There will be spoilers for Frindle throughout this discussion. But in case you haven't read it for a while, the short version is there's a boy named Nicholas. He gets sort of tired of how his teacher deals with words and stuff. And when she says that words are what we collectively choose them to mean every day, he decides that from now on, pens are Frindles, and gets some friends to help out. And over the course of things escalate, and students get in trouble, and they keep calling them Frindles, and someone starts selling pens labeled as Frindles, and Nicholas goes on the news, and he becomes very wealthy later in his life when the money from all these sales piles up, and he gets it when he's an adult. And in the end, he gets a letter from his teacher, who wrote the letter at the time of things, saying that this is exciting for her, and she wants to play a part, but she thinks her part is to be the villain. And you find out that Nicholas gets his word in the dictionary in the end. It was delightful. It was wonderful. It's everything a good children's book should be. It's truly one of the best published in the last 40 or so years. So this sequel had a lot to live up to. So as the story starts, our hero, Josh, he likes computers, he likes programming, he loves binary code. The idea that something is either yes or no. There's no gray area with computers. Your program works or it doesn't. It gives you the right output or it doesn't. And he loves that specificity. He loves that precision. And so it drives him nuts when his English teacher requires them to write their homework out on paper with a blue or black pen and nothing else. And they have to refer to a old Elements of Style book written by E.B. White and another author. And they're expected to refer to that quite frequently. And they have to bring it to every class. And their teacher checks that they have brought it in. And if they didn't, they get penalized. And Josh has just kind of had enough of all of this. In the course of working on his homework, he goes to borrow a pen from his mom, and she hands him one, and happens to have the word Frindle on it. And he has no idea what this is, and he asks his mom, and she said, oh, it was a bit of a fad when I was a kid. I do want to hang on to it, though, so make sure you give it back to me when you're done. And so Josh heads upstairs, back to his room, and looks up Frindle on his computer, and finds hundreds of thousands of search results. And he finds out about the pens that were named Frindle by a kid named Nicholas Allen, who has red hair and who looks suspiciously like his English teacher, Mr. N. The same hair, the same basic face shape. And he's convinced that he's found something out about his teacher. Now, he's not sure if it's the same person, so he decides to check in a really, really sneaky way. He gets a blank pen and carefully writes the word Frindle on it and drops it on his teacher's desk one day. And he waits to see the reaction. And, much as Josh expected, Mr. N gets sort of flustered and loses track of things. And so Josh is fairly certain that, yeah, Mr. N was Nicholas, the inventor of the Frindle. And things escalate from there. Josh decides, with the help of a friend, that he's going to invent a new word called frindy that can be used as an adjective in different ways. And he decides he's going to pull the same sort of thing Nicholas did back in the day with Frindle. But instead of fighting back against it, Mr. N embraces it and refers to all the frindy homework they're going to do and all the frindy assignments they're going to have and all the frindy things they're going to do together, and takes the fun right out of it for the kids. And in the course of things, after the incident with the pen labeled Frindle, Mr. N assigns a homework assignment where he writes about what's happening in a very oblique way. That, now let's assume this scenario, that person X has discovered something about person Y that person Y does not want the public to know. Do you think person X should keep that secret even if they haven't specifically been asked to? And that's their assignment. And so Josh is kind of surprised that Mr. N would tip his hand like this, but also kind of impressed that he would reach out like this in an anonymous way so that he could try to learn back what student had done this and to warn them that, hey, maybe they shouldn't talk about him being the Frindle guy. But it's too late because Josh had already told his friend about his theory. And so he has to write a response that talks about person Y talking to person Z about it, but both of them agreeing that they won't tell anyone else about person X's secret at this time. And so Mr. N knows that Josh knows. And it's really, really interesting. They end up having a bit of a back and forth similar to that of Nicholas and his teacher Lorelei Granger back in the day, where Josh pushes for things like bringing an electronic version of the Elements of Style to class on his laptop instead of the physical version. And so his teacher finds a way to deal with that. And Josh is a hero at first because everyone can bring their laptops into this classroom that was previously seen as a tech-free zone. But then it backfires because their teacher notices that there are mistakes in the copy of the Elements of Style that Josh had been directing people to. They didn't get it from their school librarian like they were supposed to. They downloaded it off a random website, and it had a ton of errors. And so the students were required to write out in pen, on paper, all of the errors of the Elements of Style. And over the course of things, Josh learns about why there are all these errors, that this book was pirated, that the person who wrote it was, the person who updated it from its original form was E.B. White, the author of Charlotte's Web. And he and the other students, with the help of Mr. N, start a little bit of a crusade to see if they can get that copy of the book taken down from the internet. I'll get into more details in a moment. I liked this. I recommend it. If you liked Frindle, certainly give this a try. But there are spoilers ahead, and I do have to talk about the deal breaker. The deal breaker is mostly this. The big question is, does this live up to Frindle? No. It doesn't. If in the pantheon of children's books, Frindle is one of the elder gods, the Poseidon, the Zeus, the Hades, the Hera. This is the minor demigod who appears in a small number of stories. It's still good, it's still great, it's still powerful. If you haven't already read Frindle, you won't get as much out of it. And if you read it after having read Frindle and enjoying it, you're not going to enjoy this one as much. So it's in a really, really tough situation. And it's good. I enjoyed it. I recommend it. I had fun with it. It pales in comparison to the original legendary book. My only other little gripe is that I liked the back and forth between Josh and Mr. N. I liked the fact that it was more out in the open than between Nicholas and Lorelei Granger, that they are going back and forth on this thing and finding move and counter move to sort of push the other person in a way. It was more of an open competition where they were aware what was going on, rather than the hidden reveal that Lorelei Granger was playing the villain because someone needed to for this particular story to happen. And in some ways, I'm really, really glad Clement did it, because then it kept this from being a complete retread of the original Frindle. It also removed a little bit of the dramatic tension, though. The revelation that Mr. N's name is Alan Nicholas, because he changed it from Nicholas Allen to get away from the Frindle mania, was fine. Actually, it reminded me of a manga series I've been reading lately, Smoking Behind the Supermarket with You, where one of the main characters, Yamada, changes her name slightly to Tayama by switching the last kanji in her name to the first when she's pretending to be a different person. And it reminded me a little bit of that, a quick substitution that maybe people won't notice, but yeah, it was maybe a little lazy on the character's part, not on Clement's part. Now, my one big gripe, other than the fact that this doesn't quite live up to Frindle, is that the whole Frindle thing, the idea was that it blew up. It was such a big thing. It was happening all over the world. It was such a big thing that Nicholas became wealthy from his royalties on the Frindle merchandise. It was such a big thing that a major dictionary company included the word Frindle in a print edition. This is huge. And for Frindles to have been wiped off the map in the subsequent 20 or so years, to the point where, like, people who were there at the time remember it, but no one else does, even though it made it into the dictionary, it rang a little hollow given how big things were at the end of Frindle, and the fact that things had been big enough for long enough for Nicholas to get from, I think he was in 5th or 6th grade in the first book, and getting into doing his college degree when he received the dictionary. For it to be a fad that lasted that long and to be a big enough thing that long, but then forgotten about in the subsequent decade, it seems a little odd. I know trends and fads come and go, but for it to be a big enough, long enough, enduring thing to make it into the dictionary, saying that it's disappeared from the public eye in the subsequent 10 years, it rang a little hollow to me personally. That's all. I'm nitpicking here, folks. Honestly. I like it. If you liked Frindle, go read it. If you like Andrew Clement's other works, go read it. If you like something like Ban This Book by Alan Gratz, I think you'd find a lot to like here too. Go borrow it from your library. While I'm on that topic, if you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library, why not take just 1 minute and tell the powers that be exactly that? Tell your mayor, tell your council member, tell your MP or MLA that you use and appreciate the services offered by your public library. We're at a time where some libraries are having trouble finding sustainable funding to continue improving the materials, programs, and services they offer. And a few good words in the right ears might make a world of difference. If by some chance you're a library staff member, don't forget, watching my videos counts as professional development time. Thank you for listening to me list all the ways the Frindle Files does not match up to the original. By all means, please like, please subscribe, and please check back and see what else I have to talk about from the CowHat Library. Thank you. Bye now.